Hurricane Irene has postponed the dedication of the new Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington, D.C., set for this Sunday. But here in Minnesota, a park named for the civil rights leader will be the site of a celebration and a rededication. This Sunday afternoon from 2 to 5, a sculpture called Freedom Form No. 2 will be rededicated at the park. It was donated and originally installed back in 1970, a couple of years after the park's name was changed from Nicollet Field to Martin Luther King Park. The sculpture was subsequently moved to a less prominent location, still inside the park, but no longer a focal point in the park. Last year, a controversy erupted when plans for an off-leash dog park at the site led some members of the community to ask what had happened to the idea of honoring Dr. King. After some hearings and many meetings, a plan was developed to improve and rejuvenate the park. As part of that, the sculpture was cleaned up and moved back to its original location. Joining me in studio this morning is Mary Merrill Anderson, a former park superintendent and commissioner who led a task force to advise the park board. And also with her is Charles Mays, who was there when the sculpture was first dedicated back in 1970. Appreciate your both coming in to join me this morning to talk about the dedication that's coming up on Sunday. Let me ask you, first of all, would any of this have taken place or would be happening now if it hadn't been for that dog park proposal last year? Tell us how we got here today. Charles, do you want to handle that?
Well, our local chapter of AARP, Sabathani chapter, we had a picnic in the park, and we were told that the park was going to be has been designated for a dog park. And so, being the chairperson of the AARP, I asked the members what they thought of that. And they were very, very upset. And I said, well, I think we need to do something so that will not happen. And from that time on, we've had many, many, many meetings. We've developed the councilwoman, Elizabeth Glitton, has gotten involved. And out of that has come several different organizations to bridge the community. At first, they were talking about it was the older residents against the newer residents, and or younger people, and we made sure that would not happen, and that we've got a large number of younger people involved in fighting for the revitalization of the park, moving of the statue, and we've been very successful. And we're just at our phase 1 as far as this rededication that's coming up this Sunday.
But I would add that I think that the discussion around the dog park issue really provided an opportunity for us to refocus our attention and to discover that we had really lost the legacy that was ours in that park, and we were not really understanding. No one knew about the Freedom Form 2 sculpture and what it meant, and that it had been dedicated to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. So I think that, to be perfectly honest, I think the dog park issue did give us a chance to reconnect and refocus our attention, and also expose the fact that across ethnic and racial boundaries, we really weren't in communication with one another, and we really didn't have a clear understanding of the historical issues that helped build our community.
One of the things that troubles me about this whole episode, going back to 1970, is why was the statue moved from its place of prominence, and then you had to go to all the work and effort to get it moved back. What caused that?
I was told that at the time that they remodeled the park and expanded the gym, that they didn't have room for it at its previous location. And we discovered that they did have room, and there really wasn't any reason for moving it. why they made that decision to move it is beyond me.
Never been able to get an answer to that.
I think, as I recall, the conversation was around, the focus was on creating a new tot lot for children in the area.
Okay.
And they determined that they needed a certain kind of circumference and that the sculpture was somehow in the way. But I think people didn't really understand
What the sculpture meant.
What the sculpture meant, the significance of the sculpture. So really what our group, our legacy group, is about making sure that we never forget again what our heritage is and the legacy that we hope to rejuvenate in the park around the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So, we're excited.
Yeah, absolutely. What efforts or what are you going to be doing over time to ensure that the park keeps its function as a memorial, say 50 or even 100 years from now? Generations change, and as you experienced since 1970, you had that problem. But what's to keep the dream, to keep the hope alive there?
The programs that we are going to be initiating in the park will have a lot to do with us maintaining our focus on Martin Luther King and his vision as it relates to communities, and especially with the young and the old, and the variety of cultures that are presently in the community now. Mm-hmm. For instance, we do have just a variety of different types of cultures living in the community, and we're bringing them closer together with programs in the park as well as programs in the community in general.
The other thing I think that we're really working very hard, we hope to raise $1.6 million to really recreate the park in the image of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We want to create an amphitheater, we want to create gardens, we want to create additional sculptures, and we want to create peace fields and other kinds of things. Yes, it's a park and it will have all the amenities of any other park, but we want to make this park so that when you walk into the park, you understand that this park is different. It has a different legacy. It is about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and his vision for what a great society could be. We want to make sure people understand what nonviolence means. We want, and that should be reflected in the programming of the park. What a peace movement in the park could mean. We really want to connect the various generations from the youngest tot lot person who goes to the tot lot and learns about, say, Rosa Parks. Maybe we have a Rosa Parks tot lot, mm-hmm. and learns about who that was and what that meant. We know that we're losing our history, we're losing the legacy, but the problems that we tried to address 40, 50, 60 years ago are still with us today. We have real issues in our community, and we think that what we're doing in the park can provide real answers for problems that we're facing around violence in our community, around the issues of fairness in our community, around the issues of education in our community, and around the issues of how we get along with one another, how we get past the issues of race in our community. And we think that at Martin Luther King Park, through the Legacy Council and the work that we will be doing into the future,